You're listening to the Cryptid Creature Show with Todd and Brian. We're glad you're here, and we hope you're enjoying the show. Don't forget to visit our website at www.cryptidcreatures.net. By becoming a member, you'll get access to exclusive videos, members-only episodes, early, unedited, ad-free releases, and even a shout-out on an episode. Join us at www.cryptidcreatures.net, and thank you for supporting the show.
It was right at the corner of this house, and it was tall. Its arms in proportion didn't match. Its arms were too long, its legs were too long, and it kind of had no face. You could see its jawbones. You could see that there was supposed to be an opening where the mouth was. It was like if you had just covered the whole thing in like a white piece of skin. I'm looking at it and it smiles at me. My mind's racing. I'm trying to figure out what in the world.
This is the Cryptid Creature Show. I am Brian, and with me, as always, right over there, is my co-host Todd. What's up, buddy?
What's happening, everybody? Brian, how you doing tonight, man?
Fantastic.
You know, tonight's guest, we're bringing on Stephanie, and she's had some experiences, I believe, with some kind of skinwalker type creature.
Yeah, that's what she said. That's pretty wild. She's a teacher on the reservations out there in New Mexico.
There's always some weird stuff that goes on in New Mexico and on reservations, isn't
Just
it?
in that southwest area, man. It's just crazy out there.
What is going on over there? Maybe we can
I don't know, but I'd like to find out.
Let's bring her on and see if we can.
Maybe she can shed some light on it.
All right, you ready?
Yep, let's get her. Hey, good morning, Stephanie. How are you?
Good morning. Good, thank you.
Hey, thanks for coming on and talking to us today.
Oh, I appreciate being on. I really love your podcast.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Glad to have you. So you had emailed us and said that you had had some experiences where you live with some skinwalkers. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Skinwalker.
I'm obviously not native. Well, I guess not obviously. Some people are that are. Well, I've taught out on the Navajo Reservation for 5 years, and 4 years in the Hopi Reservation for 1 year. I mean, I have really good friends that they told me these things were real, and I believed them. I mean, I believed that they were real. I didn't. I guess that realness doesn't really hit you until you see it for yourself. I mean, when I saw my first skinwalker, like it threw me for a loop. It took me several months to kind of get myself back together, not because I was terrified necessarily, but because like my whole foundation of everything was shaken. I'm like, I knew that they thought this was real, and I believed that they thought it was real. But until I saw it, that was a different kind of real. That was a new reality kind of real. It just changed everything for me. Had me questioning everything that I thought I believed in. So it was very strange. The first time I thought I saw something, I lived in Navajo, New Mexico, and it was my first year teaching out here. And I had fallen down a hill and tore my ACL, and so I was on crutches, and I had this dog, and I would let it out in the fenced backyard, but I'd have him on like a line so that I could pull him back in because he didn't ever want to come back in. And I was on the crutches, so I couldn't get out very well. And I was out waiting for the dog to just, mess around and go to the bathroom and whatever. And there was a dog in the alley. Well, the alleyway, it's like where the end of my fence was at the end of the yard. The alleyway cut down about 3 feet because we were on a hill. So there was like a cutoff drop down about 3 feet from where my grass line was to the actual dirt alleyway. And I saw this dog coming down, and my dog saw it and was kind of getting upset with it. And So I'm starting to pull him in anyway. And I'm looking at the dog, and I swear this dog in the alley smiles. And I'm like, what the heck? Am I on too much pain medicine right now? And it starts just walking straight towards us. And at this point, my dog's getting kind of angry. And then, so I'm reeling the dog in with, the line and pulling it in. And I get my dog in, and I'm unhooking her at the door. Of course, I'm on crutches, so it takes a little while. And I'm unhooking her at the door, trying to get her past me. And I look back, and this dog keeps his eyes on me and walks to that part under the fence where I can't see him anymore, like where he's down in the alleys behind that 3-foot wall. And all of a sudden, it was just like he rode to a standing position. And there was this dog standing up, but it was big. And that was really weird for me. But as I said, I was on pain medication. I tore my ACL out of my knee and had to have a cadaver ACL put in. So I'm like, I called my cousin, and I'm telling her about this. And I'm like, I don't know if it's the medication. I don't know what I saw. It seemed like this dog just stood up like a person and got like bigger and was just standing there smiling at me. But it wasn't like a wolf man or anything. It was like a dog. It was just not doing dog things. And so we wrote that off. Well, I'm on the medication. It could be it's in the evening. It just could be weird things. And my cousin even said, well, maybe there was a trash can turned over and he stood on the trash can. And we're like, oh, I'll try to explain this. Yes, that must be it. The time that I couldn't explain anything away, I lived in a different place. It's near Window Rock, which is the capital of the Navajo Nation. And I was outside of that in one of the little towns. I don't want to say which one because, all my boyfriend's family lives out this way. So I was coming back from church with my friend Brian, and I think it was like on a Wednesday night or something. And my cousin just happened to be in visiting from Ohio, and same cousin. And she was at the house because she doesn't go to church, but we had something going on that night. And we were coming back, and we rounded this corner, and at the corner of a house, all of a sudden the lights hit this white thing. And it was right at the corner of this house, and it was tall. And I looked at it, and this is going to sound so weird. It was really tall. Its arms in proportion didn't match. Its arms were too long. Its legs were too long. It was really skinny, and it kind of had no face. But it had like if it had a face, and then there was skin like completely covering the face, like kind of really tight. You could see its jawbones. You could see that there was supposed to be an opening where the mouth was. You could see, there were supposed to be eye sockets, but it was like if you had just covered the whole thing in like a white piece of skin. You could see where the indentations were, but there was no eyes. There was no mouth. There was no nose. It was all just one slick piece of skin over it. So I'm looking at it, and it smiles at me. And I know that sounds crazy because it doesn't have a mouth, but you can see underneath like the indentation, and it smiled. And my mind's racing. I'm trying to figure out what in the world. And for some reason, and this is going to sound crazy, but it had no junk, no girl or boy parts, and it had no gender really. And for it to be like just all white and naked, that was, I don't know, for some reason my mind could not comprehend what I was seeing, and I just kind of fixated on that. I don't know why. And my friend Brian is Navajo, who was with me, and I said, oh gosh, are you seeing this? And he said, don't look at it, don't think about it, don't talk about it. And he starts praying, he's like, um, he just starts praying out loud, and he's like, I am a child of God and you cannot touch me. And I plead the blood of Jesus on me and Stephanie. And, he just goes on and he's praying and he's driving. And well, to get into the place that we were, because I was working at a school, we had to get out and unlock a padlock and open a gate, go through the gate and the cattle guard, and then go back and close the gate, put the padlock back on. It was combination lock. So we had just done that before we saw this thing. And I hadn't put the padlock on all the way because I knew Brian was going to drop me off and come right back out. So, because we weren't supposed to give out the combination. So I just hooked it so that the chain stayed. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, Brian's got to go out. He's got to get out of the car. And that's going through my mind. And at the same time, this thing raises up one arm like, somebody is getting ready to, waiting for a gun to start a marathon or something. I don't know. But he raises up kind of one arm and puts the other elbow back and shoots off in its white blur towards the gate, towards the fence where we had come in. And I'm worried about Brian, and he drops me off, and I'm like, Brian, you've got to get out. I said, why don't you let me get my gun and I'll come back with you, and then me and Jolie can walk back up with the gun. And he said, nope, I'm fine. I prayed. I'm fine. He can't hurt me. And he said, do not be afraid. He said, be mad at it. You get really angry at it. Don't you be afraid, because if you are afraid, it's going to give it more power. He said, you be mad. You be mad that it had the audacity to come here and mess with you, who's a Billigana, which means a white person. You get mad at it. Don't you get scared of it. How dare him come over here and mess with you? How dare him? And so I just kept having that go through my mind. You can't be scared. You can't be scared. Because he said if you got scared, it would attack. It makes it more powerful. It feeds on it. So Brian drops me off, and he's absolutely fine, and he's smiling. He's like, don't talk about it anymore. Don't think about it anymore. If you do think about it, get mad. And so I went to the gate, or he went to the gate and went out, and I had him text me as soon as he was back in the car, and he said, I don't see it. It's gone. It's fine. He said, I prayed. It's gone. And so that kind of, I just couldn't get over it. I'm like, I know what I saw. And he saw it with me. And he wasn't shocked at all. I know, like I said, I knew that they believed, and I knew that it was real, but it was completely a different kind of real when I saw it. My whole mind just, it's a different reality. So that was the first time I saw anything out here. And then after that, periodically, I would see this white thing in the field by my house, and there's long grass. It's the high desert here, so we got cactuses, but we also have long weeds. We have juniper trees and sagebrush, and so there's a lot of coverage around, even though we're in the desert. It's the high desert. So I would see something white squatted down, but I couldn't see what it was, and I thought, is that just a white dog? Or so I tried not to worry about it, like he said, but it was weird. And not long after that, I had a new person move in to the school. She was a counselor, and she was also from Ohio, and she moved in right next to me. There weren't a lot of people who lived on the school campus. In fact, there were no people in the houses on either side of me. I was kind of by myself. And then way on down the road, there were a couple of houses, and then there were a couple of apartments that were full. But near me, there wasn't anything on that side of the road. And she moved in next to me. And this is bad, but so I don't smoke during the school year, but I used to smoke in the summertime because it's my vacation. And I guess that was me being a little bit naughty until school started again. But we would set out, I didn't have a porch, but I had a garage. So we would set out at the end of the garage in chairs and we'd talk. And it's always still so beautiful in the summer. And there's no light pollution. You can see everything, the stars, falling stars, any meteor showers that are going by. It's just beautiful. So we were sitting out there and I was smoking again. I had the dog and I looked down towards the school and they had automatic lights that would come on by the cafeteria and a light flashed on. And all of a sudden something's standing there. And it looked like the stereotypical, I mean, if you Google skinwalker, you know, in a glass sheet, that's what's going to come up. It looked like a guy who had a skin with ears, like maybe a coyote, probably it looked like, on his head, and it covered his shoulders. But it didn't go down any further than that. And it did have a tail. So I don't know if the tail was clipped on or if it just ran down his back and the tail hung down. But the only part on the front was like this little fur shawl, like a stole that a lady would wear. And then he had like the hood, the bit of a hood that had ears on it that was obviously a coyote skin. And I looked at it and I thought, what in the world? And I thought, is that one of the neighbors walking or what? I mean, am I just imagining this? And I said to Jolie, we were talking, and I said, hey, did you see that? And she said, where? I said, at the cafeteria. And it started moving, and it was in such a Night of the Living Dead kind of way. It was dragging kind of its back foot. And it was all walking kind of disjointed. I don't think I can describe it very well, but it was all walking kind of disjointed and dragging that back foot along, all kind of lopsided as it was going, you know, tilting, shoulder would tilt down and then up, shoulder would tilt down and then up as it was going from side to side. And I'm like, is that moving? And she's like, get in the house, to the dog. And she's like, get in the house. And she's running back and trying to get the dog in the house. And she knows it, just like me. She knew this was going on. I had told her, other people had told her things were going on there. But she had never seen anything. And so this thing's coming up. And by this time, I'd seen a lot, like, I don't know, the white things, you know, in the field, the things in the back of my house. I would hear stuff. I would hear stuff on the roof. So these things have been going on, but I hadn't had like another like absolute sighting until this time. And I did get that draw of fear because I'm like, it's walking like a zombie. And she was terrified. She was just terrified. And I'm like, okay, she's terrified and I'm scared, and this thing's going to come after us. And I just stood up and I said, I don't know what you want from me, but bring it. I'm not going to deal with this anymore. We're not going to do this. And I'm just yelling at this thing, and I cussed. And I'm like, I don't know what your problem is with me. And, you know, I'm yelling and I'm trying to get as angry as I possibly can. And how dare you come up here? This is where we live. And I'm trying to work myself into this angry frenzy so all the scared will go away. And it stopped and it cocked its head and looked at me. And then it stopped coming up the hill towards us. And it turned around and it, you know, staggered its way back. Well, it was running, but it was dragging that back leg. And it staggered its way kind of back to the cafeteria, and the light was there and it was still on. It went right under the light. The light went out, popped back on, and the thing was gone. It was like it just disappeared. And so that time as well, I had somebody else that saw this happen. I think for both times, if I hadn't had somebody with me that has saw this, and of course one was Navajo, they knew what was going on, and the other person was a white person, and she was like me, that was her first experience. So it, I don't know that I'm doing a very good job explaining it, but it was like, I can't deny, like the dog in the alley. I still don't know for sure what that was. It could have been a dog standing on a trash can on its hind feet. I don't know why it would, but I mean, your mind goes to try to rationalize things. But these two times, I couldn't rationalize it, and other people were there. And we have these Navajo holy people who are called Yebiches, and they do ceremonies. And well, I don't want to go too much into it because that's why I haven't spoke about it. It's just like because I have so many Navajo friends now, and my boyfriend, his family are Navajo, and so I don't want to offend anybody, but they have these things called these people who dress up called Yebiches, and they paint themselves like this whitish gray. It's like a chalk on their skin, and the white things that I saw, not the one with the fur on, but the white things that I saw, it looked like somebody had painted themselves like a Yebiche, just all white like that, like a Yebiche, and it the skin, it looked like, if it would dunk in the water, it could wash that off. It was just chalky and dry, and it was like a whitey gray. So I didn't know if that was it half changing, like it was in the process of changing and it went white before it went to another animal or something. And of course, I tried to ask Brian. He wouldn't talk about it with me. I mean, that's stuff I'm not supposed to know. And he couldn't understand why it would be around a white person anyway, because they're not supposed to do that. That's really strange. But yeah, that's the first thing I could think of. It was like a Yebiche, but the proportions of it were so, like the arms were way too long, the legs were way too long. It was skinny. It looked like it had muscles like in its arms, but like an old man, like a farmer who's still working. He's old, but he's got those muscles in his arms. It was kind of like that. It wasn't like he was a bodybuilder or, a basketball player or anything. Like, it was tall like a basketball player, probably taller than a basketball player. I had estimated about 7.5 feet. But I'm not sure. That could be overestimating, maybe 7. And it didn't look like, what they described, it wasn't emaciated like the Wendigos. It was just very skinny. It was like it had been a right size, but then when it changed, when it elongated, it just took whatever, if it had any chub at all, it took it and stretched it right up like an accordion, I guess. It just looked very skinny, but not like emaciated, like people describe a Wendigo or something.
Wow.
I've had a couple people on the show before describing that creature. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but Brian, you remember the one that was kind of hanging around the side of the building with its arm around
Yep.
that episode.
I remember that one. Yeah.
And we didn't know if it was an alien, a skinwalker, or what it was.
The rake. Yeah, we weren't sure.
How close were you to this thing that you saw, the second creature that you saw? How close were you guys when you were?
The second one, it was probably about 150 feet down a little hill, like an incline, towards the cafeteria. It's probably about 150 feet.
Definitely close enough, right?
Yeah, and it was walking. Well, it was coming up towards us. It was like kind of loping towards us slowly, until I started getting mad. And then when it went back, it was running, but it wasn't running fast because it was dragging that leg.
What about the other one, the one that you saw with your friend Brian? How close were you guys
The
to
white
that
one?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, no, we were so close. There was a fence between the house and the road that we were on. So it was like on the other side of the fence, on the other side. And when it ran down, it was running towards the other side of the gate where he had to go out. But it was probably 25 feet, 25 feet. We were so close. And
Wow.
and the light, it was pitch black out. Like I said, there's no light pollution really. And then this house had, a light on its front porch, but this was at the back side. Like if you're looking at the house, it was the back right side of the house. And as we came around that corner, that white just illuminated like like neon when the car lights hit it, and I could see everything. And of course I wasn't driving, and Brian did slow down. There was like this like a falter kind of, it was like he didn't slam on his brakes or anything, but he did kind of slow down for a minute and then he kept going. But it was, I don't know, it felt like forever that I was trying to look at this thing, and it was like overwhelming. But it was probably 3 seconds from the time we were headed towards it, maybe 3 or 4 seconds. So we were headed towards it, and then we turned right at the point where we got the closest. We started to turn, and that's when it ran.
Did it have hands like a human?
Yes. Yeah, everything on it was like a human, except for, like I said, it didn't have a gender. So I don't know if it was in the middle of turning or if they just do that. I don't know a lot about it.
Maybe it was in the process of changing and that light clicked on and surprised everybody.
Indeed, it surprised us for sure.
What did you say it did? It raised its hand and then it shot toward the fence?
Yeah. Like, I don't know if it's like a runner that's on its mark, getting ready to go, but like it was like exaggerated, like a cartoon. Like, well, it had its hands balled, and it raised one up in kind of in front of it with its elbow bent, and one was like the elbow was up on the back side, on the other side, with its fist kind of towards its side. So one fist was kind of like in front of it with its elbow bent, and the other one was back. Like if you were gonna run, you move your arms back and forth. It was like that. It was like he was on his mark, and he kind of hunched down and was off. It was a blur of white. It was so fast. I mean, it was so fast.
So your friend wouldn't talk about this thing or tell you more about it, but obviously he knows something, right?
Yeah. Some other people had told me a few things, and because I was like, well, I'm not afraid. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not afraid of this. And somebody pulled me aside and said, listen, be cautious, because I guess they go into graveyards and they dig up people and they take if they have jewelry down there, because the traditions are different here, and how they bury people. And anyway, so they take their jewelry and they'll wear that, but they'll take their bones and they'll grind them up, and there's some kind of something powder that they make. And if one gets close enough to blow that powder on you, or somehow they like have the little bones, if they can get one in you, then you're kind of done for. I mean, you get really sick, and if they blow the powder on you, it can make you pass out, and they can drag you away. So that's what they were telling me. Listen, they can drag you away. They can drag you away. Don't give it the opportunity to get close to you. So from that, I mean, that's why I haven't told you my absolute location, but we're on, Bureau of Indian Education land, and so we're not supposed to be packing, but I was. I always had a gun or a knife with me, and I also always had a taser. And of course, every night that I try not to come in at night anymore, because you have to stand at that stupid gate in the dark with your little flashlight. All your focus is on that stupid combination lock, and I'm like, anything can come up. I mean, even the res dogs come up behind you in their little packs, and I would make my taser go off, and that noise would send them running. But I've had bulls come up, or cows, as I was at that fence, and it's kind of hard to hear them, because there's like a ditch there, so there's a lot of kind of foliage down there.
Wow.
Yeah, it's one thing to see a Bigfoot or something like that, but to see this, you're dealing with some kind of paranormal. I mean, do you think this creature just lives out in the woods, or do you think he comes and goes? Do you think it's maybe a human that turns into this? What's your whole thoughts on the skinwalker?
It is a human who has chosen that way. They probably were good at one point and did good medicine, but have, for whatever reason, power, greed, or whatever, decided that they're going to go the other way. So you have to do certain things to be able to turn into one. So these are really evil things that,
Yeah.
these are really bad things. You have to, it's not like you just think, oh, I'm going to go bad today, and, I'll just flip that switch. No, you have to do something really, really bad to, I guess, incite it. The magic or whatever. I don't know what it is. Obviously, I'm ignorant. I know some things, but I never know.
So these are like shaman or medicine men that just decided
Yeah, they know they must know something about the holy ways, like Yebiches, who've always been good and, trying to help people, and, dancing and praying, and then for some reason have decided they're going to take that power that they have to do good and decide that they want to do evil, or they want to do things that just benefit them and not other people anymore.
wow.
So it has to be somebody who has practiced, the good stuff. And I was told that if you know the name of the person and you say it, then they'll either get really sick or they'll get really sick and die. And one of the times that it was up on the roof, I came out on the porch and I said, because it was just walking on the roof, and it was like dropping rocks, and I had to teach the next morning, and I was just getting mad. And I went out on the porch and I yelled up. I couldn't see anything, but I yelled up. I said, hey, I know it's one of you two guys, and if you don't get off my roof, I'm going to say your name. And I said, I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want anybody to get sick. I just want you to leave me alone. I'm here for the kids. I'm not here for anything else. And I need some sleep, and you need to get off my roof and not come back. And I heard it jump off the back and run. So I've been trying to figure out who it was, because the whole thing about it coming and bothering me was so foreign, even to the Navajo people I was telling. They're like, why is it out there? I'm like, I don't know. It's not supposed to mess with us. It's supposed to mess with other Navajos. So I guess that sends bad stuff back on it when it breaks the rules. I don't know. As I said, I'm kind of ignorant. I only know what I've been told or what I've surmised myself.
How long ago was it when you saw these things? Was it recent? Was it a few years ago? Longer?
It was the fall of 2018 when I saw the dog in Navajo, New Mexico. And it was, oh gosh, when I saw the thing with Brian, it was 2020, probably the fall as well. Yeah, the fall of 2020. And then from then, it went on for a couple years. So now I'm out in Hopi, and they don't really have skinwalkers. It's a different tribe. I mean, I ask if they come around, and they're like, no, they don't really come around us here. So I haven't really seen anything like that over there. So that's kind of
Oh,
good.
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking on the map here. You guys are right in the middle of some mountain ranges. Is it the
Yeah.
Chusca Mountains? Is that how you say it? Cusca?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I know that I had told my friend who was a ranger what was going on because, and I went to church with him, and he was saying, God's stuff. That's the person that I thought it was, or like I narrowed it down to two people that it could be because it had to be somebody I knew. Um, he said, God stuff. That's just 5 miles as the crow flies over those mountains. That he could be there easy in no time at all, because they run quick. They're so fast. And of course, and traditionally, I guess that's why they used it. It wasn't necessarily evil. It was they would use it to go long distances quickly, especially when they were fighting with other tribes. They could go get intel and come back. And I mean, it wasn't a bad thing when it first started. And then, of course, like all humans, you get something that's good, and they want to make it benefit themselves. So they turn it around.
So you haven't had any interaction since the roof incident?
I have my boyfriend and his family live around here, so sometimes I'll spend the weekend and I'll go back very, very early on a Monday morning to work. It takes me 2 hours to get back.
Yep.
So I was driving past the school, and it was just just like it hadn't come up yet, but it wasn't like pitch black. It wasn't dark. Plus, there's this big sign that flashes out in the front that's got all the school name and the temperature and the time and maybe an announcement. And I was going past the school, and it was under the tree. I had saw it again, and I don't know if it's because I was talking about it again and going past there, but I saw it. It was under the tree, and it was inside the fence, and I was outside the fence on the road, and it ran with me. And I know how fast it is. It did not run its fastest. It ran with me, kept up with the car, got to the end of the fence. It didn't jump the fence. It just stopped and kind of watched me drive on. And I think, and that was the last time I saw it, but I haven't seen it in ages at all. And I don't know. I mean, they say if you talk about it, then it'll draw it to you, which maybe that's true because there it was. But there was I didn't feel in danger or anything. I just felt like it was like, you better watch out, or maybe you better stop talking. So that's what's going to happen now.
Yeah. Well, man, after this, let us know if you see it again after we just talked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of hope it doesn't happen to you, but
yeah, no kidding.
You ever think about trying to get a picture of this thing?
Yes, and I wish I could. And we definitely could have gotten pictures, me and my friend who'd moved in beside me, when that thing was coming up to us. But I think it was just such a shock. And the way it was walking, it was like we were so in shock. I mean, I had my phone in my back pocket. I could have taken a picture, but I just, in the situation, I didn't know. I was just too in shock. So yes, and I've tried to get a picture after that, but it's like I'm like, oh, I bet we see one. I bet we see one. And I'll say that to my boyfriend. We're on these really back roads, like there's loads of dirt roads around here, and they're like washboard. They're really bad, and I'm like, oh, I bet we see something. And he always just laughs. We never see anything, but but I always think, oh, we're gonna see something. I'm gonna take a picture this time, but I haven't yet, so I don't know.
That's just so creepy to think about.
I know, that's wild.
Something like that running around out there, just so creepy.
Yeah, and to know that it's somebody who walks around, you probably see them in your daily life, and
yeah, you wouldn't have no idea.
Yeah.
That's even worse.
And how would you, if you thought it was that person, how would you talk to him? It'd be like, hey, I know you're a skinwalker. You can't, you're not going to say that, right? I think you're crazy.
I confronted the two people I thought it was. I confronted one of them flat out. And I'm like, listen, is this you? Because I don't know why you're messing with me. If I've done something to you, can you just tell me? And he just thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever heard in his life. He cracked up. He said, I swear it's not me, Steph. I promise it's not me. And then the other one I confronted, and he's like, that's so logical. Why would I be, and he was very defensive about it. And I'm just like, hey, I don't know anything about this. And I'm trying to figure out who it is, or I'm trying to confront them. If I've done something that you don't like or something, come to me, talk to me about it. Don't just try to scare me, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to get shot. And, he just got really defensive. And so that's who I think it was. But I kind of cut ties, obviously. And when I moved, I didn't really tell a whole lot of people where I was going, just in case. Wow. So, but of course now that person has moved on to other things, I'm sure, bugging other people.
We really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. This is really interesting.
Yeah, no kidding.
Love hearing about different cryptids, and this is one that really amazes me to hear about these things,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always like to hear about these ones.
If I had heard somebody come on, I would listen to it and I would love it. I'd be like, that is an incredible story, but I wouldn't believe it. I don't think. And it's just such a different thing coming on and knowing what you've seen, and even to hear other people talk about it before. And I didn't believe it. I mean, I believe they believed it, but I didn't believe it. And it's just such a different thing when you see something like this. It just changes your reality. I mean, now you could tell me, like, aliens landed 5 miles down the road, and I'd be like, oh, really? That's a crazy place. I don't doubt it. It's like opened everything up for me. Everything's different now. My perspective on things is a bit different.
And that's great. You need to have an open mind, and everybody should.
Yeah. In New Mexico, you got a lot of alien stuff out there too. So.
Yeah, I'm right on the New Mexico-Arizona border, so we get it all around.
Wow.
Well, we want to thank you again, Stephanie, and hopefully talking about this doesn't bring one back to you, but if it does,
yeah, no kidding.
Tell us about it. Let us know.
Let us know.
We'd like to hear more.
All right.
If somebody hears your story, they'll come forward too, and
it's possible.
They'll talk about it too. Hopefully.
Yeah, I just think about, what about the people who haven't had anybody there to confirm it? Do they think they're going crazy? Yeah. Because I would have. Right. I would have thought I was going crazy. I mean, what the heck? So I really appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you. Thanks for being here.
We appreciate you.
All right.
Take care.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
I don't know what I would do. I always say I'm terrified of Dogman, but I don't know what I would do if I saw a skinwalker or something like that. How terrifying would that be?
Yeah, that would be a whole different level, I think, than Dogman or Bigfoot. I think that would be.
Yeah, you and I go out in the woods, and we're walking around looking for Bigfoot, Dogman. We're expecting to see at least one of those. Hopefully, maybe that's what's on our mind, and then we see this other thing.
Yeah, the skinwalker thing, that would
really mess you up, wouldn't
it? Yeah.
Even those who believe in things like that, like us, like I said, we'd be out there maybe roaming around the woods of Michigan somewhere looking for your Bigfoot or your Dogman, and there's this skinwalker thing comes creeping by, and like we're just, basically ourselves probably at that point. A lot of craziness going on in that part of the United States, man.
Yeah, there is. Crazy everywhere nowadays.
All right, my friend. Good hanging out with you again.
Always, brother. Always.
All right, let's get out of here. What do you say?
Yep. See ya.